The Apple Network server is booted up to its firmware prompt. I have created with some help from my friends, I have created a diagnostic boot disk. So I'm going to put this in the floppy drive, and what I should be able, so there's two ways to get into the diagnostic mode. Either the key, which is out of the key, which is up there, can be put in the service mode, which is the little wrench, or supposedly from this screen I should be able to do. I hate this keyboard. Should go grab a different one. Boot FD:diags. And that should, if all is done right. Oh, and it looks to be working. There was a floppy drive. There was this. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, there was this floppy drive in the drive. I could not. It is not a diagnostics disk. I have not tried to read it on a Linux system, which I should try to see what the heck it is. But from here, there are some interesting things. There's so much here to look at. Okay, so it shows exactly what is on in each of the memory slots. It shows that the drive fan is off. That is still not installed. I'm not worried about that. Processor fan is on. That's odd. It says left power supply on, right power supply none. But from where I'm looking at it, I had some issues getting this to turn on again, and I actually pulled the power supply from the other machine, which is actually kind of behind me now. Is that? Anyway, I pulled the power supply out. Looking at the front of the machine, the power supply is in the right-hand slot. So I am very confused that it says left power supply, because the way I would look at it, it's the right power supply. I wonder what will happen, and we'll try that if I put the other power supply also in. What else? Thermal sensors, safe threshold, empty PCI slots. All the PCI slots are empty. Okay, so is that just show hardware configuration? Okay, so that is just show hardware configuration. Show the power on self-test results. No problems. Let's do run complete system test. Let's see what okay, so it's going to do a full memory test. Seems to be happy with the memory. Seems to be happy with all the things. Now, in the previous video, a viewer noted that when I opened the CD-ROM drive, which I'm pointing at, like you can see, that there was a disk in it. From the angle where I was sitting, I could not see that disk. However, the disk is the original AIX 414, presumably 0.0 install media. So that's terrific. I can install from actual original install media instead of having to, which I will, but instead of having to download an ISO from the net and burn that. Now, 4140 is the first version. There was a 4141, and then apparently 415 was also released. So I will eventually end up installing those. But for the first time, I'm gonna go ahead and do the legit install media that I have. In addition to that, I have fit one of the SCSI drive trays with an IBM branded SCSI hard drive. This is a fast narrow drive. I previously used this, I think, in a SparkStation 5 video when I was doing disk benchmarking on there. So I'm going to use this as my installation disk. I don't know what the capacity is on it. I don't remember. Let's say 4.5 gigabytes. So approximately the same size as the media that was in there. Because the little SCSI ID thing that's in here isn't going to work. I mean, it wouldn't reach to where the ID selector pins are clear up here. That cable wouldn't reach to it, and I don't think it's the right kind anyway. I'm not sure what this is doing. Is it hung up, or... because it's been sitting at line cursor on for a really long time. That may not bode well. So I've jumpered it to be SCSI ID 2, which is kind of what the default in the default boot ID. So why is this stuck here? What is happening? So this does appear to be, well, that is interesting. It appears to be hung. All right, well, let's hit the reboot. All right, so we had done the complete system test, and that sort of had problems. What's in 7? Oh, test the LCD. Oh, so this must be like individual. All right, let's blink on. Oh. Oh, how neat. Okay, so there is also, I have learned, a program that you can run from AIX to put messages on the screen. Oh, I just wanted it to show me what the options were. Okay, just hit. So just hit enter to see what the options are. So we already did the memory test. Let's do the SCSI test and see. All right. It's trying to talk to the SCSI controllers. It may have already done this. I think I saw some of the scroll by. I wonder why it got angry. It's in these menus. The other thing I did is I fitted an appropriate PRAM battery in there. I had purchased a bunch of those way back, feels like 1,000 years ago when I was working on the 2FX. I am intending to get back to that, really, honestly. Originally, that was my plan for October, was to work on the 2FX, but this was way more interesting. Okay, so this is not interesting. How do I get back up? All right, I'm going to try the full test again and see if that actually works this time. Oh, okay, so it hung up before while it was doing the LCD tests? That is super odd. There may be something a little bit flaky in here, because now it's going to hang up in serial DMA? I don't know what to make of this, because it does seem to be hung again. That is odd. It does say, I didn't notice this before, it does say on the LCD display what test is executing, and it's testing serial and has had an issue. I wonder if something is funky, because before it died while testing writing to the display. I wonder if something funky is going on there, and this is hung up because it was in the process of writing more to that display and it got stuck. And it does chime now, which I don't know what changed. I don't know what changed that made it start chiming. And I think I'm just going to try and install. Let me have a look at the CD. There are a couple really small scratches on it, but hopefully those won't be a problem. And I don't remember what the incantation is to boot from the CD, so I'm going to put it into service mode and restart it. And that should make it first try to boot from the floppy and then boot from the CD. And it is doing just that. There's a slight edit here because I had forgot to... I knew the quack was coming, and it still got me. What? That is... Anyway, I had forgot to put the hard drive in. It will be hard to... pardon me. It will be difficult to install to the hard drive when there's no freaking hard drive installed. All right. The other thing that I had read online is that during the installation process, it's going to just output semi-random numbers to the LCD panel. And basically, as long as those numbers are periodically changing, you're okay, and there shouldn't be too much to worry about because the actual display doesn't update very often. I think that's kind of interesting. Normally an installer would output dots or something. Oh, something changed. Would output dots or something, but this chooses to... They took a different path. So we have a gray screen. There's momentarily a black screen and then a gray screen. Oh? Okay. S1, F1 key, and press enter to use this display as the system console. So I expect you could probably also manage this install connected through serial, and it would be something different to enter, or perhaps if you had a different video card installed, it would be a different function key. I guess English is the choice. I think for this first install, I'm just going to take all of the default settings. And since there is nothing on that disk, I blanked it. I'm not worried about it installing. Now, once this gets installed, I will attempt to configure the built-in Ethernet. I do have an actual Apple-branded AAUI adapter, so I will try to configure that. And depending on how long all of this takes, configuring networking and getting it so that I can ping apple.com. That may be where I end this video. We'll see what adventures happen. Right now it's actually installing software. So neither display has updated in a really long time. I'm trying not to worry too much because I can hear, or at least I could for a while, hear the disk chattering away. Presumably this is BOS, is base operating system. So that might be the single biggest chunk. It may be normal for it to take a very long time doing that. Or it may be crashed. Okay. We have forward progress. That's interesting. XLC is the name of IBM's C compiler. And usually a base operating system, I wouldn't expect it to come with the C compiler. But that's a good thing. Unpack internal error. That scrolled by. I'll have to check that. Media read error, media surface error. Oh, that doesn't bode well. It looked like those were some X related packages. We may not have graphical user interface on this. Well, it looks like it is installing some stuff successfully. I don't know what that will mean. What the hell? Okay, I'm going to have to pause and check the end of that video and see if it said anything on the LCD display. I don't know what just happened. It just turned itself off. That is not cool, man. Not cool. Okay, I was reviewing the video, and as abruptly as that thing turned itself off, it just turned itself back on. What the heck? And I looked, and there was no indication anywhere that power outage was imminent. I don't know what to make of that. It's the first installation error that scrolled by very quickly. It looked like there was an error decompressing the file. Like, it expected the file to be this big, and the decompressed size was actually this big, and that. So I got angry about that and gave up. I wonder. Let's test the hot swappiness here. I'm gonna have to move this camera. Okay, that is super janky. What in the heck just happened? I wonder if... just the way that I don't have this faceplate installed, if it's just loose, or if I didn't put this back together correctly, and so the key is wiggling a little bit. I'm gonna try. All right, let's try. Oh. Pull that back out. I don't know what to make of that, other than I must have made it mad. Now this business of it not turning on was kind of what it was doing before, which is why I had swapped the power supplies around. Let's pull that power supply out. Put that one back in. I don't know what to make of this. Like, the CPU is cool to the touch. I mean, it's warm, but like I can leave my hand on there as long as I want. It's not hot. In the previous video when I was playing around with this, I had it on for a good long time. All the RAM tested, so I don't feel like pulling out RAM sticks is gonna help. All right, let me tinker. Unfortunately, this time the little LCD here is going to be much more difficult to read. I switched to the filthy front panel from the other one. I want to do the full system test again on this front panel to check the hypothesis that maybe something is damaged here. It seems that the backlight on this LCD doesn't work, so that's a huge bummer. I don't know if that is replaceable, and the little cover is filthy. Cursor on, and no, it still hangs up here. Huh. That is odd. One of the things that happened while I was in the process of switching the faceplates was, while there was no faceplate installed, it spontaneously decided to turn itself back on, and then I would hit the button to turn it off and say, okay, I'll turn it off. Okay, but now I'm going to turn back on. Like, it kept coming back on. So there is something possessed about this machine. I'm going to try again to see if I can get AIX to install. Just to try to make some progress on this. And I'm kind of at a loss. I think I will attempt to do this on here, and then I will try the other system. It still had to hang during the diagnostics while checking the cursor mode on the display. So it's not just the front panel. I'm not sure what it could be. I'm going to see if I can get through this, and then I will try to transfer stuff over to the other system and see what kind of a state that is in. And then, I don't know, see how things go. Maybe try to exchange components between them to try to narrow down what the problem is. If it's something with the system board, the SCSI backplane, it could just be something janky with the lock switch on the back, because if you switch that to the wrong position, it will turn the machine off. And if it's just, I don't know. That doesn't explain all the things. But I will try to go through this in a systematic way and see what's going on with it. But for now, I'm going to just sit here and very patiently wait for this. I guess just continue with the mic, because it was partially through an install and we're installing over top of it. So instead of just wiping everything else out, I shouldn't have been lazy. I should have pulled the drive out and wiped it again. Oh well, we'll see what this does. I believe that this will take real time about 15 minutes. I will probably have the sped up version of the whole install. I will put a time code and a chapter marker to anything actually interesting that happens that is different from what happened before, or when we get past the point that it got to before when it just randomly turned itself off. Now something else has happened. We're back to this screen after 13 minutes have elapsed. I noticed a handful of other packages failed with the same decompression error looking thing. So I don't know if that is evidence that the disk is bad or that the drive is marginal. I don't know, because I looked at the disc and the disc looks fine. Like, I've seen much sketchier looking discs, work fine in other systems. So I don't know. I may try to do another install off camera using the same disk and the drive from the other Apple Network server. I've also somewhere have a couple other SCSI CD-ROMs, so I can try one of those. So I've got some other things I can try to narrow that down, and I can just, download an ISO of the OS and give it a go. So it should be now booting off the disk for the first time, and it has not spontaneously turned itself off. So that's something. I don't know what any of this is telling me. All right, console login. I'm gonna guess root with no password. All right. Okay. Now I need to look back up and figure out how to do how to do the how to configure the network device. That may end up waiting a bit. I need to go do something else. But I wonder if I can do. All right, so it's going to gracefully shut itself down. I'm going to do some research. We will return. I just noticed that it has a date and time that is not like the beginning of time. I would have anticipated that because the PRAM battery that had been in there was dead for years, that it would have lost the time. Or maybe it just stopped incrementing it in 2022 at 6:27 p.m. Well, it may have incremented the time some while it has been up now and has a PRAM battery in it. That is interesting. I tried a lot of things to get this 414 installation media to work, and I was ultimately unsuccessful. I tried cleaning the disk again. I'm not able to observe any damage on the disk. There was one tiny scratch, but it seems unlikely to cause a problem. I tried swapping the CD-ROM drive for the drive from the other Apple Network server. This time I actually have it at a place so that I can point at it. Failed in exactly the same way, and it seems very improbable that both drives would be somehow flawed in the same way to get the same problems. Even though the install progressed, trying to run basic things like SMIT, which is the system management tool, it wasn't installed. So it failed to install that package. Like, there was something. It was never going to work. So I finally gave up on that and thought, all right, well, I know ultimately I want to run 415 anyway. It has a bunch of bug fixes and is supposedly better. All right, so I'll download an image of that, and I'll give that a try. And initially, it looked like the only difference was there were a lot more languages to pick from. And other than that, the installation progressed identically. I did figure out how to do a complete fresh install over top of an existing install. There's from the one screen, there's an option to change installation options. And then from there, there's a default of like preserve or something, and fresh install. So you select fresh install. You select the media, the hard drive that you want to do the fresh install to, and then you let it rip. And then it progressed on pretty much identically, except there were no package installation failures, and I was kind of sitting and watching it. And then it became not the same. So after all the nonsense with the 414 installer, I was pretty surprised to see this screen with the 415 installer. As excited as I was to see this screen is also kind of where things with 415 start to go sideways. My goal in the rest of this video is to help other people avoid the pain and suffering that I have endured with this. This is, I think, the 5th time I have been at this screen. This is a very perilous installation, and if you stray off the path, and by the way, the path has no markers, so it is very easy to stray off of it, you will be very sad. The sadness begins with just how dire the user interface is. I don't even, like, you can't even fit the date and time stuff on the screen. And they thought having sliders for the date and time was useful? To whom? Okay. But it just kind of gets worse from there. So I'm going to go to my favorite part of this just this dumpster fire. So you come in, you think, all right, I want to configure DHCP. Okay, and 0, let it do its thing. It's going to do this. Of course, it can't fit on the screen because I'm not even sure why. I don't even know why this is laid out so badly, because nothing comes into this area. They could have put these text entry boxes so much closer to this text, and it might have been, oh no, there's one. So like you could have word wrapped it and gotten, it's just bad. It's just we didn't care design. Okay. So, but you say, okay. And I do like the little Running Man thing. And there's one other thing that I think is positive about this that I'll show later, that is sort of nice if you already know exactly what you're doing. All right, so you say done, and it takes you back here, and you're like, well, wait, now what? I don't want to reset. I don't need help. I don't want to cancel. I want the thing that I did. Do I say okay again? Like, okay, no, that just does this thing again. And then it's going to yell at you because you can't run DHCPD twice. Like, well, so after you've done the thing, you say cancel. You say cancel. That's terrible. That is terrible. But friends, the user interface design, it gets even worse. You kind of think, oh, I want to add some users to my system. Okay, I'll say no here. So you come up to this, and it's like, where do I create users? Well, supposedly, you create users by, you have to enable this thing that isn't enabled by default. And now because you're in such a tiny screen mode, like everything can't fit on the screen. So I'm going to make one of these options go away. I'm going to get rid of, oh, actually you cannot get rid of the thing that I thought you could get rid of. Oh, that's lovely. So what it says when you mouse over the new user template, it says, to create a new user, drag and drop this template in the users pane. Oh, okay, so I click this. What? Do a thing. Like, all I can figure is that the button to select a thing to drag it is one that doesn't exist on a one-button mouse. That is the only thing I can figure. Absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. So as far as I can tell, from here, it is impossible to create users. So the default install to this point has just, I believe, installed the minimum amount of software to run this and to get like a minimum base install. So you do need to, for sure, come in and do add some software. Now, all of these options end up being very rough and taking a super, it just absolutely takes forever. My recommendation is install selectable software. Here you have to select the installation source, and it's going to take a minute to do its thing. And then come into Apple Server, and you'll notice again, because the UI is, because the screen mode is so small, you can't see. There's going to be another. It's, whoa! What happened there? That's okay. I've done this several times, and I've never seen that piece of software fail out like that. That was all right. So I'm gonna do that first. Let's click Apple Server, and I'm gonna wait to actually do anything until the hourglass goes away. That was neat. Okay, so the listing of the objects is here in this, like it's invisible. Just fabulous, guys. So you can kind of see part of the top. So I'm also going to select the installation source. Otherwise, it's going to yell at you about, oh, you have to select the. Well, there's. Okay, you've been installing from a place. So then I'm going to come to options. Oh, what are you doing now? Don't you crash again. And I'm going to get rid of that option, and I'm also going to get rid of the information area, so you can actually see some things here. Now I wonder what. Okay, so what I did, and I'm actually going to get rid of show action area, and I think you can get rid of that. Okay, so now it's all just this. So you want to install Netscape. I don't know if you have to actually select the things under the top item, or if just selecting the top item implies everything beneath it. I don't know, and I don't want to find out the hard way. But you need to install a bunch of extra X packages in order to have what you want, and then you kind of have to grab and scroll using the scroll bar. And as far as I can tell, you have to actually now go through and click any of them, because if you do the drag thing, it unselects the things that you already selected. And I think if you scroll this, yeah, if you click on that button down there, it jump scrolls really far. And so you end up missing a bunch of things. Now, most of these are, I'm assuming they're language translation packages, because these are all, locale names. I don't know which ones you actually need. I am erring on the side of caution, and I'm going to just select them all, because when I did this the first few times, if you don't select everything, if you don't select the right set of things, when you finish with this step, you just get dumped out at a terminal. And then getting back to, no, I want the system to boot up into a graphical user mode is hard. It is way easier. It's annoying. It's not hard. It's way easier to ounce of prevention sort of a deal. And then I also selected devices. And then it seems like maybe I picked something else. I did not pick any printers. I'm not ever going to hook up a printer to this. Maybe that was it. Printers. Oh, and I will... So I think that this is just the C preprocessor, but it may give something. I don't think it's the whole compiler. So then you come up to selected, and you say install, and you say yes. And now this step is going to take a real long time, like 45 minutes or something. It takes a really, really long time because it's going to, so it's going to speed out, but it's going to install 939 packages. But it's running AIX with X Windows right now. So it's a multitasking operating system. So I can come back to here, and if I hadn't already done things like configure the network and that stuff, I could do that now. What I will go ahead and do is I will go ahead and set a root password, just because. Okay, so that's the only other thing that I'm going to do. Oh wait, no, I'm going to set a larger paging file. And I'm going to set it because I'm going to install more RAM in this. So I can do all this while it's installing other packages. I mean, that's kind of neat. Like that is useful. The thing that's a bit annoying about it is that thing is at the bottom. So if you're just going things in order, you're going to get to that last. So while the thing that takes forever is running, you've already done all the other stuff. And again, have to say cancel when you're done. Not exit out or back up a level or something like that. It's just... I feel like even in 1996 or whenever, they should have known better. So now, I'll come back to this window. And now it is just a matter of waiting a really long time for this to happen. And then once it's done, I'm going to just click on the tasks completed exit to AIX login, and we can do, there's one last element of system configuration. One last element that I'll do, and then reboot the system, and then do another element, and then I will actually create some users, or create a user anyway, and then my patience with this, with the AIX, for right now, may be pretty close to used up. So there for sure is going to be a cut, because I've done this a few times and nothing else interesting happens. All right, well that's part is over. So now just task completed, exit to AIX, and assuming everything was done right, it's going to start up CDE. Okay. AIX Windows Desktop. Okay. Now again, we're in this janky 640 by 480 screen mode. Whoops. Okay. Which is not ideal. So that's the first thing that I'm going to fix. I'm going to go ahead and close that from here. There are multiple places to open a terminal. This is just the closest one. So we can run another command called smit, which is once you have the system running, this is the way of changing all of the configurations. So I'm going to come down and go to devices, and then graphic displays. Now, the thing to modify here is display resolution and refresh rate. Display size is like it wants to know the physical dimensions of your monitor, and I'm not really sure why that is useful. I guess maybe it adjusts font sizes based on that. So you're presented with a requester here in the list. So usually in these things, in these text entry boxes, you can type stuff in, but the ones that have a list widget next to them, you actually have to click that and select from the list. And the highest this will do is 10 by 7. Oh boy, howdy. Oh, I'm quite sure. So one other thing that is a little bit neat is it shows you that this is the commands that were executed to actually make that happen. Okay, and select done. And then actually from here, instead of clicking cancel, you can click where you want to return back up to, which is perhaps more useful. I think that is all I'm going to do now. So the pain is not over yet. So I'm going to reboot so that it will come back up in 1024 by 768, because that screen mode is... So it kind of fakes you out here by bringing GDM, or whichever this is, the login screen, by bringing the login screen back up. It is working on rebooting. It's going to do it. It just takes a minute. But when it comes back up, things are not going to be great. So this is the part where we would hope that things would start to get good. We've got the AIX splash screen, got a little thing telling us that stuff's happening, and it gets this far and it just sits here. I let it sit here for over an hour and it made no progress. I tried reinstalling again and doing different things, and nothing. I don't know what this problem is. If you have any ideas about why this happens, I would love to hear it. Super frustrating. There is a fix. There's a fix that could have been applied before this reboot, while we were in SMIT before. But I wanted to show, in case you get to this, how to get back to it. So I'm going to put the system back in service mode. I'm going to reboot it. And it's going to come back up eventually. Man, yeah, not having the backlight on here makes this screen just really unreadable. If I can make that better. Alright, so we're back in the installer. But instead of, thankfully, we do not need to reinstall. Once it comes up with the next screen, we'll have the choice to actually make to fix this problem. And it's a little bit annoying. Okay, so instead of doing the install, we want to start maintenance mode. Because from maintenance mode, we can get back in and do something about this. So we want, access root volume group. It really wants you to be sure. Instead of having the default be the thing to do, you have to type in, anyway, access the volume group and start a shell. So now it's going to mount the drives from the system, and we're just going to have a root shell. Eventually, it takes it a little bit to import it. So something that I find interesting about this is that it claims all the file systems were unmounted cleanly, which implies to me that when it got stuck at boot up, it hadn't done this step yet. It hadn't mounted the volumes. So that's odd. Thing we need to do is set the terminal type. I'm just gonna, maybe it'll know 220. Did that do something silly? No, okay, it worked right. And then we're gonna run smit again. So now we get to see the text mode version of it. And what I found works to fix this is system environments. There it was. I'm sorry. So select system environments, go down to change system user interface, and it's going to have a list. How do we get it? Just a list F4. All right, so we have to scroll through, and we want the AIX Windows desktop environment without graphical boot. And then select enter again. Even the text mode interface is very obtuse, and this is going to take a moment while it's reconfiguring things around. Okay, so now we should be able to go. Actually, we should just be able to exit. Should just be able to. Okay, or not. Oh, what are you irritating? How? This did not do this before. Okay. So the F key commands, you can also do escape and that number, and it will do that thing. So I should be able to do. Well, I guess there wouldn't be any. I don't know how, oh, so maybe escape 0? Okay, escape 0. Good grief. So it liked the function keys for a while, and then it stopped liking them. Okay, whatever. Now we should be able to reboot. It's going to go through the same rigmarole again, and when it comes back up, it should come back up into the graphical desktop environment with the graphical login manager. We'll see if that happens. So we get to see it coming up graphically or as text, and it's going to log a whole bunch of stuff. And honestly, this is kind of my preference anyway. Like, I want to know what's happening while the operating system is booting up, because sometimes things go wrong, and if you have some information, maybe you can fix it. But if you just have, oh, it hung at a splash screen, like what? I can't, there's nothing to do with that. I never want that. I never want the stupid splash screen that hides stuff from me. And here we are. And so I want to do 2 more things. Oh, good grief. Oh, and it didn't do the... I thought it did. It handled a slash... Anyway, okay. I was going to be clever. But you can log things out to the LCD screen. And it does take some kind of control characters, but I'm not familiar enough with what they are. So now we can do a graphical version. Well, I guess we saw the graphical version of SMIT before. We can go into security and users, add a user. And I find it interesting that now it's not even a similar user interface. It is entirely different. I can make a user for myself. And I think that's the only other thing. Don't want it locked. And So the thing that I find interesting is that I don't remember seeing a way in here to set the initial password, which I always thought was weird. Like, why? So, okay, I'm going to create the user. Okay, and do the thing. So now there's a user, but that user can't log in because they don't have a password. I have to come out and set silly. So now I can log in, and in fact, because I haven't changed it, I could telnet in. That seems like something that needs to be changed. The other thing you can do is it does have a super ancient version of Netscape. Really, I mean, if it's called Netscape, it's ancient. And it's going to get angry because I'm running it as root because I was lazy, and so it wants to put all the files in the root directory, and that seems bad, but it is what it is. There is a site. And actually, on ones this old, you do have to, I believe, say. Oh, shoot. So I found this website exceptionally helpful in the creation of this video to even get this far. There is a lot of information in here, including just an Apple Network Server FAQ and an AIX on Apple Network Server FAQ. Super useful. Without this website, I don't know that I would have been even as successful as I have been at getting this thing running. It was just especially the AIX FAQ that explained a whole bunch of the things, and in particular some of this stuff, which I haven't done. I'm going to cover this in a follow-on video because I think I'm exhausted by this for now. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to do a video about something else first, and then I'm going to come back to getting some useful software. And there are some fun things that can be run on this, but getting some useful software on here to actually be able to play around and do some things. But I did get far enough to get this started up and get it on the internet, which seems just very foolish. But it is what it is. If you would like to see that follow-on video, there's going to be at least one follow-on video, probably two more about the network server here. Highly recommend that you click the subscribe button. If you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate if you click the like button. And if you have any commentary about things that I did wrong and ways that I made life harder for myself, because life was hard for me in this process, ways to do things easier, it would be a great help to me and frankly to anyone else who might end up with one of these machines. If you would post those comments below, and I would really appreciate that. But until next time, try to remember the good stuff.